Hello, hello, everybody. Welcome to week one of Vampire the Requiem Bloodlust. Man, Maggie, you really, as always, come knocking out of the park, making all of the rest of us freaking look bad.
I even brought a stuffed Liam.
Oh my god, you're gonna have a stuffed animal this whole time as well. Oh no. Oh no. It's gonna be creepy.
Yeah, I didn't go with the teddy bear, the generic teddy bear. So
True, but no, it's A plus. I approve. How's everybody doing? How everybody doing today? Everybody excited? I know Maggie's been
Yes.
hyped for like
so excited for this.
insane.
I think we've
amount
all
of time.
just been freaking out for the past like 3 days.
No pressure or anything on me.
Already nerding out about it, yeah.
It should be fun. Even Scott's excited, so that's always a winner. That's always a win. No, Scott, no words at all.
Excited.
Oh, okay, there's your words, Scott.
Oh, there you are.
Hey, welcome back.
I'm
Welcome
getting
to
in
the show,
character.
Scott.
I'm
is
getting in
that what
character.
it is?
I need to be dark and brooding. Okay.
Oh, God. You give me that.
I lost my family. I'm dark and brooding.
All right, dark and brooding is like you still got to get hurt on that mic, girl. Like,
Oh, don't worry.
brooding,
Don't
Batman
worry.
that shit a little bit.
You gotta.
It's funny. Nika doesn't know me. She doesn't know that. I was quiet for
doesn't-
once. Take that opportunity, man.
Yeah,
Take that
Scott doesn't ever
opportunity. It's all
effing
over.
shut
Stay
up.
It's all over.
Actually, yeah, savor this moment.
It's done now. I want everybody to mark this on their calendar. Nika asked me to speak more.
God,
Oh,
Thank you.
speak up.
you've
Oh,
doomed
It's
us.
particularly what I said. Speak louder. I'm looking for any kind of like rat prop around my room,
Rat
and
prop.
I am really sadly disappointed. Usually, I have some kind of stupid prop for everything.
Sounds
I
like
got
you need to go out and get a pet rat now. Is what you need.
I have a bunch of dead mice in the freezer for my snake, but
Alright,
I
you
think
know.
that would
Oh,
be
that's
very
perfect. I feel like that's
Oh.
perfect for what your
right,
character
yeah. I'll just use one as an ice cube and just like, just a mouse, and no, we're gonna not get kicked off Twitch.
I would prefer not to get kicked off Twitch. That would probably be a good thing. We haven't hit our year birthday yet. Let's not get kicked off before our year birthday. After we hit our year, once we've been around for a year, that's fine. We can get kicked off. It's not a big deal. But until then, let's try not to get kicked off. All right. Well, why don't we get this train a rolling? Like I told everybody, if anybody wasn't here for character creation, a quick update as to where this is all taking place. This is modern day Chicago. We're playing Vampire the Requiem rule set. If you are familiar with any of the rule sets, Requiem first edition is technically the rule set that we're playing. I don't know the differences between first and second. And we'll be introduced the characters as the story goes on. As for you guys, let's play a little bit. So, all of you are childer in the city of Chicago, which means you are all young, freshly embraced, and you've only been around for anywhere between 6 and 8 months. Your sires have, for one reason or another, chosen you to embrace, to bring you from life to undeath under their wing. Whether they saw something in you that was valuable, whether they had some weird pangs of mortal emotions and felt bad, for whatever the reason, they have embraced you. Moreover, they were given the gift of being allowed to embrace, which is something that most vampires don't have, especially here in Chicago, which all of you have heard passing rumors of the rules of the prince here in Chicago and how strict he is, but it doesn't really matter to you that much, and your sires, for the most part, haven't really spoken about it and don't really care to. It's not something that is pertinent to you. You are still under their tutelage, which means you are not recognized as proper vampires within the society. You are still tools of your sires, and if you ever did anything wrong or maybe looked down upon by vampire sires, have all rights in the world to just kill you without having to answer for killing you. If they just didn't want you around anymore, doesn't matter. They can kill you because you're not proper citizens, more or less, which is important to keep in mind. However, you've been doing lots of little odd jobs here and there for your sires up until this night. You've been, like I said, under their tutelage for 6 to 8 months, and release is nearby. You've all been informed one way or another that tonight's job, for what they all are having you go and do, is going to reflect not only directly upon them, but upon yourselves. If you are successful tonight, the release of you from your sires is all but certain. We open in a very big study. All 4 of you have meandered here slowly but surely over time. Typically, Amelia and Varys came together, probably first ones to arrive, shortly followed by Caligari or Jimmy, depending on how lazy Jimmy is feeling in this particular night. The room you find yourselves in is ornate. There's a long mahogany table that sits in the center, and though it looks like it's a seat up to 8 on the sides and 2 at the ends, only 4 chairs sit, 2 on each side, with 1 at the head of the table. Books line the walls. There's varying different alcohols, wines, scotches, whiskeys, and all kinds of decanters all along. And to the mortal eye, it might look very particularly clean. But to you, you can see a very fine layer of dust on almost everything. Things seem to have gone undisturbed. You know you're here to meet a man by the name of St. Clair. Only his last name. Don't know his first name. Know he's a vampire of some repute. But outside of that, that's about it. You all find your chairs. I assume Varys and Amelia sit on the same side of the table, being the first ones there.
Yeah.
Yeah?
I would think so. Amelia probably like walks in and she kind of puts her hand along one of the bookshelves as she's walking in and is like,
Doesn't seem like they clean very often.
Varys is silent.
No, they don't give a shit about this place, do they?
I like all the books, though.
she grabs one off the shelf and skips over to a chair and sits down and opens the book and starts reading it.
I'm gonna see if I can cast a glance at the title of whatever book it is that she grabbed.
All kinds of different books here. Amelia, what would catch your eye? Something historical, something fantastical.
Something colorful.
Something colorful. The most colorful book here is probably a book along
Do
the
they give
lines.
off any, like, if I use my like auspex, do any of them give off any like different aura color?
No. All these books are things that you would have seen in a mortal's library. Just a collection that has obviously built up over many, 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 many years.
Okay.
So you're just reading something maybe of like War and Peace, something that may have had like a fancy cover, but is incredibly thick and famous if you've gone to school for the most part.
Okay. So she like opens up the book and starts reading it. And I'm assuming like after a while, like no one has come in for a little bit. And then she like gets maybe past like a couple pages and then she like closes the book and like it makes a bunch of dust everywhere. And then she's like,
Well, the cover may have been pretty, but this book is boring.
and she puts it on the table.
Okay.
All right. So a few minutes pass, and then eventually, Caligari probably bumbles in her own way. And
Bumbles is the closest kind of word, yeah.
skulking in.
Skulking.
Did you spend any vitae to look human, or are you looking straight up Nosferatu style?
Oh, I am. No, there is no semblance of disguise on me, especially not here and now. Like, nah, I am not playing that way. So I'm definitely a strange-looking creature person.
Sure.
Dirty as hell. Not terribly smelly though, but just dirty, or the semblance of dirt, almost.
I still give that reaction that you know the. Oof.
Right.
I ignore you both and immediately go to all of the books on the walls, including did you replace the book?
No, it's sitting on the table in front of her.
Okay, I picked that one up immediately, kind of paged through it because it happens to be right in front of you. So
When you pick it up, she says to you,
Oh, don't waste your time. It's pretty boring.
I don't have a character voice yet. God, we've had a week and I don't have this stuff. And now I can't do high pitch because 2 high pitch girls is just a lot.
It's like every anime ever.
I tried to go as animu as possible.
All right, I'm gonna try and like workshop this as I
Yeah,
go.
go for it.
Yeah,
But I'm
you
terrible.
don't need a
at-
voice.
She pages through and she goes, yes, but at least I have to know. I have to know. I have to know. So she looks. She tucks it under her shoulder, like kind of under her arm, and then looks at all the other stuff too. And she picks out a couple volumes that she thinks are somewhat interesting.
Okay.
Amelia is very intrigued by this and is like sitting on the edge of the table, like going like this and watching her as she's doing everything.
She does not give a fuck.
Now, as Maquette specifically, you two have probably come into contact with Nosferatu a couple of times here and there, and they
Absolutely.
always tend to have their quirks. I don't think you've probably ever met a Nosferatu that even remotely is normal. So while Caligari is wandering around and being kind of quirky, at least to the two of you, this is I want to put in air quotations, normal of this particular clan.
Yep.
So she's wandering around as Caligari's kind of pulling out random books and in the midst of finding what she's interesting. That's when the door will open and your final of your newfound friends, Jimmy himself, will walk in. And you walk into a Nosferatu, pulling out books, a young girl sitting there at a desk with a gentleman sitting by her side, or standing by her side.
There's like 100 books in here. Holy shit.
I'll
Have
look
you
over
never
at him.
Been
Like,
to a library before?
give a head nod.
I've been to a library.
I'm just gonna hiss,
Okay.
don't touch anything. I don't trust him immediately.
It is pretty dusty. I wouldn't touch anything either.
Meanwhile, I'm touching everything, like sniffing decanters of weird liquids, kind of like tasting them out, putting them back. Just, I'm like looking under the table, seeing if there's gum
No
stuck
gum.
under there.
Outside of the very thin layer of dust surrounding everything, this place looks was as neat and tidy as you could possibly keep it until prying hands and eyes started pulling books off of shelves, of course.
Hey!
Jimmy, what do you do when you walk in and you see this Nosferatu peeling books off? I'm sure you've run into a Nosferatu here and there, specifically because of where you live. But your interactions with them may be not nearly as in-depth as maybe Amelia's and Varys's have been.
Right. I mean, I think Jimmy's like, okay, I won't touch anything. It's fine. Just, let me know if there's anything I need to do.
Cool.
I love him already. I'm such a fan.
Well, you're not left alone in there for very long. About
Well,
I mean-
just so you know, sorry. My character is literally hanging back and watching everything, just kind of like studying all of them, absorbing what it is that they're doing, watch them go around. It's one of those things where I more consistently look at the little one to make sure that she's not getting herself to any form of mischief. And if it looks like she is, which I imagine you're not at the moment, Maggie, no?
I'm watching both of them intrigued. Mostly watching the Nosferatu, because like she's like going through and like going through all the books, and this like intrigues Amelia greatly.
Gotcha. So I'm gonna keep an eye on them and just kind of like judge them for a little while, like just hardcore watching them and judging them, but making sure that she's not getting herself into trouble. God, I'm sorry.
no, that works perfectly fine.
And she's probably like, because she's so short and she's sitting on this chair, she's like dangling her feet.
In this most adorable, creepy way possible. Okay. Jimmy's probably in there for maybe a minute before the door itself, the door handle turns and the door opens. And standing in the doorway, kind of standing tall with excellent posture, is a man in a wonderfully tailored suit that is pretty much pitch black from head to toe. And his hair is relatively slicked back. He has a goatee. And if you were to put him in mortal years, he probably looks like he's in his mid-30s. A very successful mid-30s businessman is what kind of stands before you. Mm-hmm. He has a very small smirk on his face as he kind of looks around the room, takes a step in and shuts the door. And he takes a deep breath and he says, all right, well, all four of you are here and on time. As he's looking over at Caligari, and you are already getting your fingers all over my organized books. All right, that doesn't matter. Please, could the four of you take your seats? we have a lot to talk about before I send you on your way tonight. And
I sit down, but I do have a thing where I lick my finger, looking straight at him, and then like flip more pages. just very challenging.
He maintains his very casual smile as he makes his way over to the head of the table and pulls his own chair out and sits down. He waits for all four of you to sit down before looking at each one of you. And in a very jolly way, I guess is a good way to put it, says, well, I know all four of you. Through your sires, of course. I know your names and I know your particular skill sets. But outside of the little one and her caretaker, I don't think the four of you have properly met. So before I start blabbering away, why don't you all...
Not my caretaker.
Of course not. Of course not. I apologize profusely. It's just to see a young kindred such as yourself, also young in their mortal years, it's so utterly unique. So before I discuss...
I feel like at that point, like first she was mad and now she's like, I'm unique.
Why don't you all introduce yourselves to one another? You're going to be spending, at the very least, a very long night together. And perhaps by the end of the night, you might be looking out for each other's backs, socially or physically. So please, introduce one another. And he kind of puts himself back and kind of crosses his arms. And feel free to introduce one another. And when you do, feel free to describe what your characters look like as well.
I have a question.
Sure.
Is there any way that I know anything about their sires? I know any details about these people?
Very, very unlikely.
Okay. Even though all of my time is spent...
You have a lot of knowledge, but without the knowledge of their particular sire's name, maybe if they mention their sire's name, you could be like, oh, I know of him. But because you don't know them, you don't really know who their sires are, outside of maybe the clans that they're in. So if they mention their sire by name, then we could do a check for that. But because you don't know them, you don't know who their sires are.
Okay, I want to look around the room and point at each of them.
Mm-hmm.
And I forgot the names already.
Oh, that's fine.
What? We have Emmy.
Yep.
Emmy, Caligari, and Jimmy, and Varys.
And Varys.
Mm-hmm.
Varys, yeah.
Okay, Varys. I pointed. This is very rapid fire. I say, I'm Caligari. I point at Varys and I say, you're guilty. Point at Emmy and say, you're a liability. And I point at Jimmy and I don't say anything at all. And I just
I did not expect that.
Amelia I want to use my Auspex ability and look and see what kind of aura perception she's putting off. Caligari is.
negative. Just void tendrils.
And it's a dice pool intelligence plus empathy plus Auspex.
Oh, that's cool.
And the composure, I don't think it has anything for somebody else to
resist. I don't think they
resist.
I don't think they can. I just think you have to make a roll, and then depending on your success,
it's intelligence, empathy, and plus Auspex.
So you
how
may.
does that work?
So what is your intelligence?
1.
What is your what was the other one? I apologize.
Empathy and Auspex.
Yeah. So
Empathy and Auspex.
altogether, how many dots is that?
Okay, 3, 4, 5, 6.
So you're gonna roll 6d10.
Okay. So how do I do that?
Let's see.
Okay.
It could just be considered a simple roll. Normal.
I think I got it.
You might just be able to click on Auspex and it
I
might just
clicked
work.
on intelligence, empathy plus Auspex.
Yep.
And it's a normal roll, right?
Yep.
No modifiers. I think that's
And that's 1, 2, and 3, 6 dice, like you said. Yep, perfect.
Zero
Zero
successes?
successes.
0 successes. Unfortunate.
Even one.
Are we not showing? Oh, enable 3D dice. There we go. Now I'm happy.
Oh, you want to see the 3D dice?
Of course I do. I want to see what she rolled.
Oh my
So
god, 0.
you focus your eyes just for a minute, and you kind of have this look of concentration as you stare at Caligari. But no matter how hard you try, there's nothing coming off of her. That's happened to you before. You know that it's something that you've done plenty of times and it's worked. Sometimes it doesn't. This particular time, for whatever reason, the aura isn't.
Because I'm angry.
Yeah, it might be because you're emotionally compromised or what have you. But no, you don't see anything. Again, glean no information off of her.
All right, I just scowl then.
Okay. The gentleman still sits and he waits patiently for either Jimmy or Varys to say something.
Yeah. I'll just say, I'm Varys. I'm here with her, and gesture over to Maggie's character, to Emmy. So Varys he stands at like high 5 foot, low 6 foot. It's kind of hard to tell because he's leaned up against the wall. He is wearing a brown leather jacket. He doesn't seem very interested at all at what's going on. He's looking around the room. He clearly was watching all of you for a considerable amount of time before this person got here. And now he's watching this person, once again, not very interested, but watching. But probably the most noteworthy thing you notice about Varys is he doesn't look like a vampire at all. Actually, he looks like a human. The fact that you're in this place, you probably would have just assumed he was a vampire, and you can probably tell it's because he's a Maquette bloodline, but he actually looks completely human to you. He does not come off as a vampire to you. And that is because of an ability I have called Mask of Tranquility. So I come off as human to you.
Easy enough.
I just have one question.
Sure.
For the rolls, what's a success?
Believe it is a 7, or it might be an 8.
8, 9, or 10.
8,
9,
9
or
or
10.
10. Yep.
Okay.
And if you roll a 10, it rolls again.
Yeah.
So you can have chances of rolling more die. Yeah.
Cool. All right.
Now,
I just
Maggie,
wanted
have you ever something called a chance die, which is like you have no modifier, but you're going to try it anyways. You roll just 1 die and you only succeed on a 10.
Correct.
But it's still 10 again. So you theoretically could roll a second or a third, or likelihood very slim 4th die if you keep rolling 10s. So it's pretty cool.
Yep.
Okay.
So the last person to step up is just kind of watching everybody like, this is interesting. I don't know why the fuck I'm here. He is Jimmy. He's wearing a floral print shirt and baggy jeans. He's like clearly was in his like early to mid 30s. Sort of kind of the person you might see on the street and just be like, okay, I'm completely ignoring that guy. But you know, he's not like unattractive. He's kind of like a young Jeff Bridges thing going on. He clearly hasn't showered recently, but not in like a disgusting way, just in a like, okay, dude, you do you way. And so he looks around the room. He's like, I'm Jimmy Panagakos. You call me Jimmy P. Yeah, you guys, it's a really interesting crew we have here. So actually, I got one question. He points at Varys. He's like, you're a cop, aren't you? You look like a fucking cop and you act like a cop. I'm just saying, like, you give off serious cop vibes. You may want to tone that down a little bit. Just saying. It's like a personal advice thing.
Should I bring you in? Are you admitting to something?
I
Yeah.
hiss.
Okay, buddy, bring me in. That's going to go really well for you.
I'm not a cop. Calm your shit.
Okay.
What does Amelia look like?
Well, Amelia is a 9-year-old, so she looks, she's a little kid, like everyone has already mentioned. She has like short pink hair with bangs, and she has like cute little bows in her hair, and she's wearing like just a cute little outfit, little dress. And then I guess for the viewers out there, just so you guys know, but these guys probably wouldn't pick up on exactly. She's a super witty character who kind of her thing is like manipulation and composure and presence. She kind of revolves around more of the social aspects of things in some, well, persuasion is her thing.
Easy enough. And Caligari, what do you look like?
Oh God.
I've been debating for a week whether or not I have hair.
I love.
I think most of them don't have hair.
I know, but some of them do.
Some of them
I have
do.
to like kind of figure out like where I'm going with that. The one thing that I know particularly is that, as with many Nosferatu, it actually does say that there are many different levels to a Nosferatu. So some of them can be kind of subtle, but still like kind of not. And then some of them are just like full on fucking bat. And I'm more on the bat scale. Very pointy nose, very pointy ears. Skin is sort of a grayish, whitish, pallid, almost tarnished. It's not supposed to be there. Feels leathery, kind of like a mummy. Just appetizing as hell. Sexiest woman you ever laid eyes on. She's around, I would say, late teens, early 20s. But not that you can tell. You'd have to look more or less at the stature in the frame. She moves in a sort of a hunched way. She's skinny in some places and bigger in others, and it doesn't make any sense what that would be.
I love it.
So like big thighs, tiny, otherwise like chicken legs. Just like everything about this is just like a creature that was drawn incorrectly.
I love it.
Very long fingers, long pointy fingers. I think she does have hair. I'm well considering the hair thing. Yeah. Because
Maybe you have a wig like made out of rat fur.
Yeah, like there's like a whole nest going on in there, but it's not there yet. Like she definitely has hair and it is unkempt. Sometimes she looks through it. Sometimes it just sort of parts all along her. And the color of that would be black, except sort of like desaturated, just as though there was a dimmer on the black, as though the hair dye didn't quite take, and it looks almost a little bit on the grayish side.
Oh, man.
Yeah. I
So
haven't
you
thought
get
about this before.
No, that's
bird's nest is what you're telling
Yeah,
me.
that's
you
what
get
I-
you get a
No,
hard
no.
bird's nest.
She has actual like her hair is lank and kind of like a little bit ratty, but nothing perching yet. No nest. This is episode 1. Give it time.
Oh yeah, give it time. It's gonna.
Character progress, guys. Character
Evolution of
progress.
Kamikari's hair.
She's gonna have like giant dreads at some point.
I just love the fact
That's
that
a great plan.
you're just razzing on Jimmy for being all dirty, and you're like,
Oh, I am
nasty.
filthy. No, I don't like him because he's a slacker, but which is an entirely different thing. You can be like you can guess for any reason, but yeah, I am a dirty little vampire girl.
I love it. I love it so much. So after everybody kind of like, he takes you all in, and Jimmy and Varys have that final little back and forth. You just see the grin on this man's face just grow just a little larger. And he just looks you each in the eye, says, the great thing about a young coterie with such immediate tension between the four of you, it's gonna equate to one of two things. You're gonna be each other's demise, or the four of you are gonna go on to do very great things together. Either because you have a mutual respect for one another, or you hate each other that much that you have to show each other up. It's gonna make for some very interesting situations, I think.
I hope you're not too much of a liability there, Emmy. I say, slowly looking over at the Nosferatu in the room.
Paying no attention whatsoever. Still in the book, actually. She's just going.
Just ignoring it.
Emmy's just giving you like a little angry face.
Well, shall we get down to business then?
Please.
I like how you think. Very simply, something has gone missing. Not mine, but one of my friends has lost some property. That property has knowledge of something that we've been after for quite a while. And luckily, the sires of the four of you owe me a favor for past deeds done. So they sent the four of you to take care of this for me, clean up a mess, as it were. Now, this property is a ghoul. Do the four of you know what a ghoul is? Do I need to explain?
I think
Yes.
Annie might know what one is.
I know what it is.
Regardless, for those who may not, a ghoul, quite simply, is a mortal who imbibes kindred vitae. It makes them stronger, better than their peer mortals. They
It's
are
disgusting is what it is. It's fucking disgusting.
Calm down there, young Varys.
To be fair, he thinks a lot of things are disgusting.
True.
Would that not be equally disgusting if one of us would drink the other?
That's quite different, my good sir. Ghouls have their purpose. They become dedicated to the cause. They're valuable tools to have in the mortal lands when we cannot roam in the sun and they can. And they become, in a way, gods among their creatures if gods didn't already exist in our kind. So they're useful, and they're property, and we lost one, and we need you to get it back. It's simple.
Can't you just publish some more fanfic forums and, gather more that way?
This very specific ghoul, Varys, has very specific information that we need. And you're going to get him, or you're going to get the information out of him, one way or another. Now, preferably, we'd prefer him come back alive. We don't know what happened to him. He could have been kidnapped, he could have gone running, but though that's unlikely with how ghouls work.
Well, how do you suppose we find this ghoul?
I think that's why you're here, Emmy.
You all have your uses. We know where he was a few days ago. We last saw him at a club. Haven't seen him since that night. That's where you're going to start. Now, before we get into the details, you are still Childer. And to say that word is rare nowadays. Childer. Young vampires in Chicago. It just doesn't happen that often anymore. Do you all know the traditions of the kindred? What not to break, what not to do in public? The 3 main traditions? Or shall we, for the sake of a refresher course, go over them again?
I could use just, go over it really quick.
I look up and I kind of nod, like, sure. If there's rules, like, I gotta know them.
Now, your sire should have gone over them with you, but I don't mind going over them again if it means you're going to get the job done and not screw anything up.
Is this like tutorial mode where you can press start?
I know, right? Skip. It's very simple. Tradition 1 is the masquerade. Don't let mortals know you're a vampire. It's pretty easy and not too difficult. Tradition
Amelia looks at Varys when you say this.
Tradition 2 is the tradition of progeny. Very specifically in Chicago, at least, you're not allowed to make any. Unless you're given explicit permission from the prince. Don't make any. Period. And the last one is the tradition of the amaranth. Basically, do not drink the blood and the soul of fellow kindred. It's against the rules, it's against the laws, and it's punishable by death. And don't worry, if you think you can get away with it, you can't. Moreover, Chicago in particular has a couple of extra rules by the prince himself that we're going to go over. He likes to be fancy and try to keep things at a balance that are kind of rather annoying, but we listen to him because, hey, he's the prince and he's there for a reason. They're called the prince's injunctures. The first one kind of ties in with the second tradition.
Excuse me. Sorry, what was that word?
Injuncture.
Okay.
The prince's rules. Is that better?
Yeah. No, I got it.
Okay. Well, the first one is no embracing. It goes with the second tradition, but he makes it very, very clear that any who embrace, even on the outskirts of Chicago, that still fall within his realm will die for doing so. And regardless of if the child knew or not what they were getting into, they too die. So don't do it. The other one is no slaying other kindred. It's going to make a little bit of your job maybe a little bit more difficult if you run into any of them, but torpor is okay, but don't slay them, don't dust them, don't kill them completely. The prince doesn't like it. Our numbers here in Chicago are at a good place, he says, so losing any is devastating to him. He can get rather aggressive when he's angry.
Can't you just make more, though?
It's not that easy, young Emmy, and maybe one day you'll know, but it's not something we're allowed to be doing right now. Those are the 5 rules, more or less, relatively easy. I hope you understand them. Now,
Got it.
to the job itself. At Club Pretender is where he was last seen a few nights ago. Club Pretender.
It's a nice joint.
You've heard of it then? Upper North
Yeah.
Side?
Yeah.
Good. I'm glad. Then perhaps this won't be as difficult for all of you as it is. Except for maybe any gestures to Amelia. Still smiling, of course. Her. It's, well, challenges good luck, I guess, with her. He was seen there about 3 days ago, and we'll give you a picture. Do you have phones? We have numbers for some of you. We'll be sending you a picture through your fancy phones. Don't worry. I don't particularly keep one, but I have people who do. And he went missing. You shouldn't be running into any too much trouble out there. The lupines aren't typically out there. I haven't seen any wizards out there in years, as far as we know. It's not an Elysium of any sort, so it's not neutral ground. We just don't know where he went, and we just need you to figure that out. Whether he died or whether he was kidnapped, that's on you. But that's our last lead. Questions?
What's his name?
His name is Alex.
Profession?
I don't know, actually. And he says that with like a raised eyebrow. He's not my ghoul. But I can get that information for you and send it to you with the photo when they send it to you on your phones.
Does he have any family?
Probably.
Do you have that information that you're going to send to us?
I don't think that has anything to do with the job, if he has family or not, but if you need it, I can probably figure it out.
Don't people reach out to their family?
Family and friends are always good to know. So if you have any information on those two, they like to leave trails.
All right. Well, I'll ask the information. See if I can get it for you.
Does Alex have a last name?
He does.
Can we have this second name?
If you must. And he says that with a smirk. His last name is Martin.
Okay.
Any other questions, or are you just gonna get up and go?
How long ago was this person last seen?
About 3 days ago. He was seen at night in the club.
Uh-huh.
Went missing.
I'm really hungry right now.
Also, how are you getting this photo?
I told you. The one who's missing the ghoul? Friend of mine.
Yeah, but okay.
They have the picture. We have your numbers.
So, but out of character question, don't vampires not show up in photos?
But it's a ghoul you're looking
It's a
for.
ghoul.
A
Okay.
ghoul is a human. He's not a vampire. So yeah, ghouls are humans who drink vampire blood. They stay
Oh.
they stay human. They stay mortal. They just get a little bit of a buff to basically their physical and mental stats, and they basically become slaves to the vampire whose blood they drink.
I didn't ask that question then.
Okay.
Retracted.
Nope, no problem. No problem.
As I said, I'm awfully hungry, and I wouldn't want to raise suspicion before we did something so important to you and your friends. You have a bite around here?
I do, but not to share. You'll be going to a club soon. I'm sure you'll be okay.
I'm sure it won't raise any suspicion.
Have you not
Thanks.
fed before in public? Is this new to you?
This is all new to me. And I get up and I push off the wall and start walking out of the room.
Don't mind him. He comes off a little standoffish, but he'll warm up.
And she
don't-
gets up and she skips and follows him.
Okay.
I think Varys and I are trying to like out edgelord each other here.
Well, you're quirky. I'm just drab. I'm good to go and start heading to. If everybody else leaves as well, I'll kind of like look to what's his name, Jimmy, to take the lead because he seemed to know that bar. I don't know Chicago very well, so I'm going to leave it to Jimmy.
Okay, so on Jimmy's way out of the room, he turns around and he's like, "Oh wait, do you have like a timeline on this? Like you want him
I need an answer by tonight.
tomorrow?" Oh, okay, cool, great.
Good luck. And he smiles and he pushes himself up the chair and he turns to one of his decanters of liquor in the back and he goes, looks like he's making himself a drink and kind of now just ignores the fact that you're there and assumes you're going to see yourself out.
Okay, bye. It's been real.
So,
I
as you
take
make,
some of the books with me, or at least I attempt to.
he doesn't stop you.
Yes!
He doesn't stop you
Add
whatsoever.
them to my inventory! I want books!
So you make your way out of this rather large house. Who here has a car?
The 9-year-old definitely doesn't have a car.
That is
The
correct.
1998 Honda Civic.
That's fine. You have points in driving, correct? So, Scott, you're muted. I just see.
I said my first car was 97 Honda Civic, like first car IRL. That's funny. Almost. Was it a coupe? Do you
Mine
have
was
a coupe?
a shitty Geo Metro.
Oh yeah.
It
And it
maybe
looks
two
like
people.
It was a coupe. It had like almost a hidden CD player. Like it was cool.
Almost a hidden CD player.
Well, it was like in a weird spot. Like you wouldn't know it was there unless you were actively looking for it. It was I love Xandos. Okay, I miss Xandos. But moving on. Yeah, I got a car. So
Okay.
I feel like my car, my guy is like he's an American car kind of guy. I'm gonna say he's a pickup truck kind of guy. Yeah, pickup truck.
So
Yeah.
are you all going in one car? Or are you gonna split up?
How far is it?
You're gonna have to make. It's probably like about with the traffic on a Friday night. You're looking at probably a couple hours of traffic. So you probably have to make like 2 drive checks along the way.
Ugh.
We should just take the L. Like realistically, it's gonna.
You
be
could
best.
easily
Yeah.
take the L. That is correct. And it might not be a bad thing for Varys either, because the L is actually prime feeding ground for vampires.
What time is it right now?
Or probably around 9 or 10 p.m. Still relatively early in the night. Summertime.
Okay,
Sun
okay,
just set.
I'm okay with that.
Knowing what we know, or what Amelia would know,
Mhm.
would I know that, like, are they all dressed enough where they're going to be able to get in?
Jimmy raises a couple eyebrows in your head, like but the fact that he looks like kind of this casual build, this casual clothing, he did say quite openly he knows that club well. So perhaps he could get in. Varys, he looks like your typical night dude walking around. Caligari, on the other hand, that might be
She's
difficult.
not going in though. Like
She might not even decide to go in.
I'm gonna
crawls
case
through the toilet.
And I'm not gonna go in.
she pops out through the toilet bowl. Someone's like taking a
Excuse
piss.
me.
I was thirsty. Just saying. So,
Implications of that, but I'm rolling with it. Okay.
so the 4 of you all essentially walk out of the house around the same time, and you find yourselves on the sidewalk next to a couple of cars that you've parked, with a choice. What do you do?
Wait.
They're debating
Oh,
whether you're going to take the L, which is like the
yeah.
subway, or are you going to take the car?
I'm going to take the car. That way we have it on site in case we need to leave. So, I mean, the cab only fits 2 and it has like one of those half seats in the back, but there's a flatbed if they need to
It's a
jump in.
pickup. I'm in the back.
Yeah. There you go. Good, because I mean, we need Emmy to sit in a comfortable seat. She's a kid.
Okay. Jimmy, what
Emmy
is-
has a booster seat, by the way. Totally has a booster seat.
Oh, yeah.
She's 9.
I
Doesn't
know.
matter.
I wouldn't know a booster
But
seat.
you're but I have a little cousin that she lives down the street here all the time. She's 9 years old. She's 65 pounds. She has to legally be in a booster seat. No, she's 10 years
Okay.
old, 65 pounds, booster seat.
You're out of control.
I'm pretty small, so.
You're
Booster
trying to like
seat.
force her into the booster seat, and she's like, "I'm a fucking vampire."
Do you want to
Let me
ride?
go."
Emmy, do you want to ride? Booster seat.
If we're driving, I'm gonna drive too.
In your own car?
Yeah, I mean,
So the 4 of you kind of walk out and go into the sidewalk, and it doesn't even seem like Varys stops. He kind of reaches in his pocket, and you hear jingling of keys, and he just seems to be heading right over to his pickup truck. Emmy,
GMC.
GMC. We're not sponsored, GMC. Emmy walks over, seems in tow, just gets up, climbs up, and Caligari, after a few minutes, scrambles into the back of the flatbed. And Jimmy's left standing there like, well, I guess we're not making a decision. Pulls out his keys, heads to his car.
Emmy opens up the window that goes like, this is like a Ford pickup truck, right? Like, they have those windows that slide across, and she opens it up, and she's like,
You could sit.
never mind. And she closes it.
hey, Caligari, I got 4 seats in my car. If you don't want to like sit in the back of the thing.
While he's talking, I start my engine.
Yeah, she's cool.
Okay, bye. Fine, I guess.
It's funny because actually Maketz and Nosferatu have like this brotherhood. So it's like the fact that she chose to jump in the back seat makes sense, and the fact that I'm fine with her being there makes sense. So perfect.
You
So-
guys are
Yeah.
ridiculous.
So
right.
I start heading off into that direction. If I have I heard them say north end, so I know to get on the local interstate and drive north. But I'm gonna GPS it. I'm gonna Google Maps.
That's the great thing about playing a game in modern day. You just fucking Google Maps it, and you're
Google.
good to go. You're good to go.
Directions to, what was it called again? Pretender. Okay. Okay, Google. Directions to Pretender. There we go.
Just
Okay.
keep trying over and over and over again. All right. Well, while the cars drive off to their initial fated first meeting, why don't we call this a first break? We'll grab a drink, and we'll pick up as the cars head into the city. Don't go anywhere, guys. We'll be right back.
Gotta get this jacket off. one of those quick sketches that takes them like 10 seconds to do. Fucking
The only
kid's crazy.
I see we saw Ollie's art then.
Yeah. Yeah. Fucking Ollie. Oh,
That's a great. I like that she's just flipping everybody off. She's like, "Oh fuck yourself."
Okay, listen. There's a request for eye makeup. I put it on. It's just hard to tell because
You have to show them. You need to take the
'Cause
glasses off.
I have
Do we all
glasses,
have eye
so
makeup?
it's.
Is that a thing?
Well, I
Yeah.
mean, I was gonna put eyeshadow on too, but it just took too much time to get eyeliner because I haven't worn eyeliner in 13 years. So I'm just sitting there like, you gotta poke an eye. It's like
You get
13
used
years,
to it after like
11 years.
4
something.
years.
Yeah.
Should I put on makeup like on the street?
Yeah, it'd be one of those makeup streams.
I imagine like Caligari's in the back of like the pickup truck, and she's just like trying.
Oh, you know what? Getting ready for the club.
Yeah, she's like.
Yeah, I'm in.
She just like finds charcoal or like a burnt out cigarette and is just kind of like smudging a little bit over her eyes and just being like, no one's gonna look at me anyway. Like,
And Emmy is definitely watching, intrigued.
she's
I
a
think-
trash monster. Like,
I think she's putting makeup on.
nah,
Is
she's.
that really gonna help?
I look at
she's
Maris.
still here with her books. We have to figure out the whole book thing, but I have a couple books.
I want to try this again. Oh, 2 successes.
I'm not looking at that page. I'm still not looking at that page. Did it show the dice for me? Oh, I don't think it's going to use the 3D dice.
Because
don't
we're
think it-
using the code. It might not show you the 3D dice.
Yeah.
Maybe if you roll just like straight d10s, it would.
Yeah, I'm sure. Like you rolled what, 6? So roll 60-10. It should work normal. At least, yeah, because I'm showing it. I don't know if you guys have 3D enabled, so I see it if I do it that way.
I do
He's
not.
like, I want to see the real dice. It's not the same as if I hold it in my hand, okay?
Yeah.
God.
No matter what
That's
you do,
true.
it won't be the same.
It's never the
But-
same.
Well, I mean, anybody here who's played White Wolf before, that's the best part of White Wolf, or a high-level wizard casting Fireball, is that fistful. I got big mitts, and when you can't handle all, like there's like 36d6 in your hands, and you're like,
It feels like a
PC
fireball.
dies. Yeah, oh god, the power.
I have a problem with King of Tokyo, but just because the dice are so big and there's a lot of them, and I have the tiniest hands, so that just goes everywhere. I'm like, no.
I love that game. It's such a good game.
Good, it's good.
It is a good game. Are we ready to continue?
Yeah.
All right. So you all take off in your respective cars, and you're heading into the northern Chicago. Specifically, I can't remember the name of the part, but if you open up your maps, I can tell you where exactly in town you're going if you care.
Oh, right. There's maps.
Yeah. You're gonna be a little south. You're gonna be a little south of Wrigley Field. Near
So north map, south map.
North map. On the far east side, where a little south of Wrigley Field, there's a lot of college areas out there. Which actually, Jimmy, you would have actually been to those college areas quite a bit over the course of the 6 to 8 months. The Ordo Dracul, their primary base of operations is out of the art schools and whatnot in this area. So, due to you belonging to a covenant,
That's Wrigley Field. So
Yeah.
Boys Town. We're in Boys Town.
yeah, right down there. So you're.
Awesome.
It actually makes sense that this is a club you frequent often. This is a club full of younger people, a lot of fake IDs, a lot of people going in here that shouldn't be in here drinking. But moreover, you're here for multiple different reasons. So this is familiar to you.
Wait, is this in Boys Town?
It is in Boys. Well, it's south of Boys Town.
Okay,
I know what
south
boys
of,
want.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, because Boys Town is like the Castro / like WeHo equivalent. It is the gayest.
There you
So
go.
if this was a gay bar, this would be a very different kind of scenario.
Hey, my character's from Mass, so he's cool with it.
Yeah. Who cares?
Yeah.
Hey.
As you start heading into the city and hitting the where there's like a lot of heavily trafficked areas, you start seeing like the neon orange lights starting to mix with the smog of the streets, and the bright neon signs of all the buildings you start to pass by, and people walking along the sidewalks. And the further in you go, the more populated it becomes. It's clearly a Friday night. Clearly a lot of college students are out right now and just kind of enjoying their night and being free for the weekend. The college isn't quite out yet, but we're erring on the edge of summer right now. So they're getting a little bit more loose. They're getting a little bit more excited. Graduation's coming. So these streets are pretty packed as it is. We're going to have you make a dexterity plus driving check. for your first to not hit anything or get yourself in any trouble with whether it be law or what have you. Let me just pull
Is
up
that
the
just
roll.
for Varys and Jimmy?
Yep, Varys and Jimmy, you're both gonna make driving roll, dexterity plus driving rolls.
Yep, I'm just making sure I'm good there, and this should be good. I rolled nothing. What is this?
You
Simple
rolled
roll,
0
normal.
dice.
That was weird. I have
And you
dexterity.
kill me again in another car crash.
Oh Jesus!
I have dexterity in driving. Oh, sheet roll. That's what I wanted. Sheet roll, I believe. There we go.
This is why he got in a car crash. to
First
begin with.
session, everybody. We're
Terrible
working on
guy.
it. We're working on it. 1 success. That's all you need. You're good.
No, that's not right.
I'm just gonna start
Okay.
trying to roll some dice just to see if I get the hang of it before
Yeah,
it actually.
we're working on it. It's our first time
Basically,
really
you have to
interacting
select
with these.
you have to select all the
Hey,
things that go along with your role. So, for instance,
Yeah.
the one that I did, I had to select int, I had to select empathy, and I had to select aspects.
Jimmy, not your first time coming down here. Been here plenty of times. You have no issues. Varys, you don't come here too often, but you don't have any issues either. It's it's Varys something as a
I'm
last
gonna pick a last name right now.
Probably because you're a little bit overly cautious. There's a couple times where you jerk on the brakes, somebody like runs out or drunkenly stumbles out onto the road, or a car stops short. But you don't get any accidents. You're lucky as you head in. We're gonna do one more check as well as we get to the real thick of the club scene. So feel free to make another dexterity plus drive check for me to make sure you both get there perfectly safe.
Are you gonna play some club music for the viewers?
I had Bloodlines music playing actually in the background.
Oh, nice.
It's actually quite good. And again, you guys are both fine. Couple people, maybe shouting at you or swearing because you got a little close, almost nicked somebody, or maybe almost nicked a car, but
Jimmy
didn't
is
get any-
shouting and swearing back.
I was gonna say, I figured Jimmy's probably shouting and swearing back, and Varys is brooding and angry on the inside, but he's keeping
Fuck
it.
me, fuck
Fuck out of the
you.
road.
Yeah, some unpleasant things were exchanged between some of the passersby, but you got there relatively fine, so don't worry about it. You end up finding a place you can park the cars legally, not too difficult. Pay a little bit of money for it, but you have it, not a big deal. And you're about 3 blocks from Club Pretender. This music, by the way, that I'm messing with, I can't keep it quiet. Like it's one notch from mute at this point. Okay, there we go. We'll do it that way. God, it's so loud. So you're about 3 blocks from Club Pretender. You'll both park in the same garage, as it were, nearby. And the 4 of you will end up meeting up on the sidewalk quite a few ways out. Now, again, it comes to mind, you're heading to a club. Caligari probably not going to get in unless she decides to spend some blood to do it. Emmy could probably force her way through. But even if she gets in, it's gonna draw some looks one way or another. However, you are well aware, Varys, that she has her ways of making sure she can get where she wants.
I'm not worried about her.
Right. You all meet up on the sidewalk. You look at your phones, or those that can get pictures, and yes, there is a message.
Sorry,
No?
as I'm getting out of the car, because you said we meet up on the sidewalk. As
Yep.
I'm getting out of the car, Caligari wouldn't have seen it beforehand, but this time as I'm getting out, she'd see me reach in and grab, my katana from inside the truck. And as I'm grabbing and pulling it out of the truck, I want it to turn invisible, like it was earlier. So I have to make a check for that one.
Obfuscate, correct?
Yeah, I just got to double check exactly which one that is. And obfuscate for this one is going to be wits, larceny, and obfuscate. So wits, larceny, and obfuscate.
Which dot
Tell
are you
me
doing?
actually how to roll.
Simple roll. What's that?
Can you guys tell me how
It's
to
dot
roll?
1. So Mathas,
So,
page 1,
Up in the top hand corner.
135, I think, Mathas.
No, it's what?
Up in the
Okay,
top.
so there's a little dice roll here.
Yeah. So
Nope.
down
Dice
below,
roll.
you're gonna select the stats. For instance, go to your int and select it, and then deselect it. You'll see that it turns red.
It's red.
When it's red, that means it's selected. So you would
Okay.
select the stat that you want to, all the stats that work towards your roll, and then you should see them below the dice up above. And then you'll just click the dice whenever you have everything you want. And most of the time, you're going to do sheet roll and normal. You won't use the other things, and then you just click the dice, and it'll roll for you. And you won't have modifiers unless Mathas gives you modifiers.
Correct. Yep.
I'm sorry, this is a little bit, I see it on my character sheet. I don't
Yeah, that's how you do it. You do it on your character
Um,
sheet.
but I definitely am not seeing. Okay, and then the dice roller.
It's at the top. way top of your character sheet.
Top right-hand corner, yeah.
Yep, it'll be
sheet roll.
no, it'll be sheet roll plus normal most of the time.
That's normal. And then I click the dice.
Yes, go ahead and do it.
This is modifiers.
And then you won't put a modifier unless Mathas tells you to.
Correct.
There you go.
Hey. Oh God. Is everyone rolling just terribly? Oh no, Varys just like fucking killed for the
Yeah, Varys killed it.
Like we've just been like, yeah, 6 dice, 0 successes. Like
I can't believe my first roll for you to check your aura was so shitty. My second. That's why I did it again, but I don't think Mathis cared. He just said.
You got like 2 out of 6.
Sorry, I didn't realize you were concentrating on her. You were doing aspects on her?
When she was back there doing her makeup, I was like, I think she's doing her makeup. And I was like,
Makeup.
is that going to help when I looked at Varys? And then at that time, I did the aspects again, but I got
How many successes did you get?
I got 2.
2 successes, so you're going to get 2 colors off of her specifically. Do you have the book? I mean, I could pick the colors for you.
I have the book if you want to. I mean, I have the colors. What do you look at?
I'm curious if Nika wants to pick out the colors that would be surrounding her character.
And the colors, I presume, matter.
They do matter.
Yes, whatever the
They
fuck
do
I want.
matter. So I think the thing is you pick what you were feeling or whatever. So you could be like happy, hateful, idealistic, innocent,
that kind of
love,
thing.
obsessed.
If she had a general aura in a non way, I think it would look like a tarnished tin can. Like it's
You have to give me the condition first, and then I give you the color.
and like kind of fucked up and gross. Her general. What?
like she walks into like one of those palm reading places, and the lady's just like, no.
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 Nor would she walk in. Just like if she like passed by, the woman would be like, I would say something.
You mean like
What is
distrust?
a distracted color? She's not super paying attention to this right now.
Distracted. Okay, I'll look to see. There is a distrustful, calm.
They're not distressful.
Daydreaming. So it would be daydreaming. It would be
Daydreaming
probably
is
closest.
fine.
Okay.
Daydreaming would be a sharp flickering color. So it's just a lot of, but because she's a vampire, they're dimmed out. But you don't really get a solid color off of her. It's a lot of flickering, not like
Flickering
nonsense.
colors. Yeah. So there's a bunch of colors that are just like flickering nonstop.
That sounds disgusting.
Well, luckily your
sounds
aura can change depending on your mood. So
Like
Yeah.
no, but like dim, flickering,
Yes.
like colors.
So while I'm
sorta.
watching you do your makeup, I'm
This is
starting to get a headache.
horrible. Yeah, like it just sounds disgusting. I love
Like a
it. I love
shitty
it forever.
fluorescent light in a basement.
Yeah.
Kind of like
Definitely getting
Nice.
ready for a club.
Nice. Mathis, I do have to admit, I was supposed to take a -3 modifier on that.
I did see
not
that,
apply
but
it.
you
yeah.
still
I
succeeded.
got an 8, so you can either take 3 successes off, and I'd still have an epic success or exceptional success, whatever it's called, or I can re-roll with the.
I'll just take
the
3
penalty.
off and consider it still an epic success. You
okay,
still rolled
cool.
really, really well, so I'm not gonna worry about that. That's not a big deal to me.
Cool. So just so you know, that means unless even if somebody knows exactly where they're looking, they're still gonna have a hard time finding.
Yeah,
the
they have
fact
to
that I
make a
have
check
sword
and
on me.
all that, and they're gonna
Yeah.
get penalties for looking and all that nonsense. So, yep,
Cool.
I gotcha. So after that's done, you cast obfuscate, which basically means like for those who are watching, it doesn't magically disappear. It's more that when somebody looks at it, they don't. It's like it immediately is erased from their mind. They just don't perceive it there. It's there, but magics, quote unquote, are keeping it out of their brain for one reason or another. The 4 of you come together after parking your cars, either within the parking garage itself or on the sidewalk out. Like I said, you're about 3 blocks out from Club Pretender, which is the last known place. Upon checking your phones, there is a picture of a really dead average looking guy with brown hair and like a little bit of stubble. You only get from the chest
Well-
up, but he's got a very rounded face.
How many people out here have phones?
I
Does everyone
assume,
here have a phone?
I assume
I think
everybody
we
had a
all
phone?
have phones.
I don't. I
Okay,
do not
so
have
you
a
do not have a phone. The 3 of you get a picture. Caligari does not.
Yeah. I'll
Is he
peek at
cute?
someone else's for a little
Is
bit.
he cute? On a scale of 1 to 10, he's a 4 or a 5.
He's a really a 4 or 5?
There you go.
Damn it. Well, it's because if we are going into a gay bar, that could help us. But
True.
if he's only a 4 or 5,
help us.
it's
It could.
it's not going to really help us. So, like, you know this guy? Oh. Okay.
But the 3 of you have a picture, and you asked about family, and no immediate family. That's the only information they were able to they ended up giving you. There's no immediate family in the area, so nothing to go off of there. You all get together. What do you do?
Okay, so
Well, he doesn't look very interesting.
Emmy says while she's looking at her phone.
He's a feed bag. What do you expect?
wow.
But he drinks, I don't know.
It'll change when you're older.
I mean, you look at him
And she like shows you a picture of him.
I mean, come on. Lady to lady.
Caligari has no idea how to deal with that.
Even Bowers like looks up from his phone and looks down at her like, what?
Sexuality is a thing that I'm supposed to have. She doesn't. She's very confused about that. But she's like, yeah, she kind of agrees it's nothing quite special. But she does stay away from the phone, and she doesn't quite like it being pointed at her. So she just.
Oh,
kind of
she's like,
keeps that out of the way.
Do you, you don't like it?
She reads books with
She's
fervor.
okay with looking at it, but not when it's pointed at her in any way.
oh, okay.
She's a shadowy lady.
Oh, you don't like the
know that yet.
camera.
You just know that there's like a discomfort. Obviously, she doesn't have her own phone, or presumably not. She's fucking homeless. I mean, like she's like just. There's
I
not a
gotcha.
lot going on.
I gotcha.
Okay, so a couple of us go inside. We ask some questions, buy some people some drinks, see if anybody's heard anything. I mean, I'm going in. Who's coming in? You.
Yeah,
Pointing
definitely
at
going in.
everybody.
Another out of character question,
Mhm.
because I'm not sure. Is there any way for us to communicate when we're not directly right there with each other? Is there any kind of like
That's
ESP?
why I want telepathy.
Texting.
Yes, I
Text
text
messages?
you.
Yeah,
I
texting.
text you.
Texting. Carrier
Sorry.
pigeons.
Yeah.
I'm really good at pigeons and rats.
Exactly.
Smoke
so-
signal.
No, not
No,
without.
but is there like an actual?
There is later,
Think
but
that-
that's a higher level power that none of you have.
Okay. Okay.
But, yeah.
So for right now, we're not at all connected, and we
Correct.
don't really know.
So to bring that up in game, actually, be like, so if anybody sees anything, we shoot a text. You don't have a phone, right? Can we get you like a beeper? I think they still make those.
Yeah, they don't
They
have
do.
cameras on
Yeah.
me.
Yeah. Well,
Do they
wait,
still make
you don't want a beeper?
She's pretty much gonna say like, no, nah.
Okay.
This is one of my
I think
flaws,
he
by the way.
likes
Like,
technology.
so
Yeah.
I'm playing into it.
Yeah.
It's great.
But
Okay,
no,
so you-
she will find a way to contact you if need be. She has eyes in places with her vermin affinity.
Does she
So-
speak about herself in the second person like that?
No, I'm not speaking as
Okay.
her.
Okay.
I'm still
She
working on the
has
voice.
ways
I have
to
to figure out
find
what the voice is. I'm guessing it's gonna be like kind of gravelly or like something, but I don't know how to do it.
I like it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Caligari. I know. Workshopping it. But no, she just immediately moves out and just starts like looking around the place
Okay.
and is kind of doing her own thing. So
Sure. All right, we'll get to you then in a second. The three of you, who decided they were going in the club?
I mean, I'm going to walk in the front door with Bro over here,
Okay.
and I know that she has her own means of getting in. So if
I'm
she
going to
wants to come in,
sneak in.
sure. So I'm going to walk in with
And
with
if
the
I
bra.
can't sneak in, I'm going to command people to let me in.
I mean, you
As
can
I-
just come in. Like I can get you into this place.
Oh.
Come on. This
when
is
he
really
says
easy.
that, I look at him with like deep concern.
You get like a little 9-year-old in.
I get you in, no problem. Come on, little girl.
Okay.
Okay, if he says that, then.
All right. So then you make your way out and heading towards turning like a road and heading into where the main road would
Or
be.
they
where
have
a lot
some
of
weird
clubs.
fetish, and I don't know how
Now,
I feel about this. but
maybe
okay.
it's-
Sorry, I have
No,
to
go
jump
for
in
it,
on this. Like,
please.
as we're walking in, because I do have a piece on me. As we're walking in, I do have to use that ability one more time on my gun, but the
All right.
similarly -1 modifier.
Yeah, well, we'll get to that. If you want to do that now before we.
Yeah,
you
as I'm
walk
walking
away.
towards the front door. Yeah.
That's fine. Feel free. Make the
Okay,
roll.
sorry. Thanks. Sorry.
No. 2. You're fine. Successes. Yeah, that's good. So maybe it's because you were distracted talking to one another or whatnot, or maybe it's because you don't come down here too often and it just didn't really hit you right away. But as you turn away from the parking garage and you do start heading towards the main road, it starts to hit you how overwhelming to the senses, the bright lights and the smells of all these people and the noise as people are talking and bumping into you. And for Jimmy, maybe not so much because he's here a lot, but maybe for Amelia and Varys and even Caligari, if she's wandering even remotely nearby, the closer you get, the more of almost an assault on the senses it is. You'll forget sometimes that you're vampire and that your senses are kind of tuned up to 11. Even more if you
mine
end up,
are like.
I was gonna say even more if you
like
do
9,000.
if you do that more of your if you use your power and stuff. But even normally, and Scott especially right now, like walking by these people, it smells like food. All this it's just something that even takes a second for your character to just kind of take it in. But
like
this is
food or like food.
No, like vampire food, like people.
Okay.
And it is intoxicating to be this close to such a thriving community.
Aggravated.
I love
Very
this
aggravated.
smell. It smells so good.
I'm getting hangry.
But you make your way towards the club, and like the senses are starting to hit you. As you get close to the club, I would like the three of you to please make me a perception check, which in this game I believe is a wits plus, because I don't think it's a perception skill, is there?
Okay, it's wits plus.
Believe is it expression, intimidation? Let's see if it's
I'm pretty
even
sure
in the
it's
book.
wits plus composure.
Yeah, I think
Wits
it's
plus
wits plus
composure.
composure makes sense to me.
Yeah, that's going to be your typical spot check or whatever.
Yep. So please,
Wits plus composure.
Wits plus
Yeah.
composure, please. On the
Bam.
2 successes.
good. 1 success and 1 success. Looks
did
like
it.
we are dropping frames. Great. Give me a second. Yeah.
Oh yeah. It's definitely you because they're clear and you're choppy.
Yep. Nope. I am. I'm not